Chronometry calibrated. The gateway will open in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Analyzing data. Likelihood of parallel universes now at 31%. Continuing analysis of the many worlds hypothesis.
In 2013, a Star Trek convention in Las Vegas held a poll to rank all Star Trek films. Despite there only being 12 out at the time, Star Trek Into Darkness came in 13th place. So what pushed it down? Coming in 7th behind such greats as Wrath of Khan and First Contact was a 1999 movie that didn't have Star Trek in the title and wasn't even a Paramount production. Welcome, everyone. I'm Gayfish. Joining me, as always, is the lovely DemonMama.
Hello.
And Moss.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing Galaxy Quest. I almost called it Star Trek Galaxy Quest, which would be appropriate.
I agree. It's canon.
It is. It's canon. It's even though Paramount doesn't own the rights to it, it's a DreamWorks production. You know, yeah, it's Star Trek. There's I think at least a couple of actors that are in both Galaxy Quest and Star Trek productions. I'm sure if I dig through Memory Alpha, I could find them, but I hadn't thought of doing that. I think Robin Sachs, who played Saris, I think he might be in something in Star Trek. But it is obviously a Star Trek movie. How'd you all like this one? I'm sure we've all seen it before, but
I love Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
It's just so good. I got the unique pleasure of getting to sit down and watch it with two people who'd never seen it.
Ooh.
Nice.
Both of whom were skeptical, hearing it was like a Tim Allen starring Tim Allen type thing.
Understood. Understandable.
Yeah.
But counterpoint, have you considered that Tim Allen, a conservative crank, might be like the ideal choice to play William Shatner?
He's literally so perfect for the role. It's crazy. And yeah, by the end, everyone was fully on board and sold on the movie, which makes me very pleased because I think it's a great movie. But yeah, I really love this movie, and I have so much good things to say about this movie, and yeah, so I'm interested to hear what everybody else has to say too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Like, I don't have any criticisms of this movie because like anything you could criticize is like it's already doing meta-analysis of Star Trek. So it's like, okay, Sigourney Weaver's boobs out. Like, okay, they're making commentary on the original thing. And it's like, you know, maybe you could have a little bit of a conversation of like, are they functionally just doing the sexism by spoofing the sexism? But like, I think that it's tongue in cheek enough to be like, that's like the only thing that I could really criticize about the movie. Otherwise, like, it's fun. It has these like serious themes, or not really themes, but like, you know, there is a serious stakes situation for the people that they're trying to help. So yeah, it definitely has all the vibes of a good, solid Star Trek movie with some action pieces, some like we're trying to save people and help people, and like what kind of people do we want to choose to be? I think that that's like something I especially thought of during the most recent Star Trek when we watched Insurrection, is that, you know, it's in the future and it's aspirational in that way of like, what can human beings be when we don't have to struggle for basic survival? And then you still have like greed and those impulses that we want to think that we're better than that. And so this kind of touches on some of those same ideas. So yeah, it's Star Trek for sure.
It's also like got a fucking stacked cast. Like,
oh
even,
my God, yeah.
Even some of the minor characters, you're just like, wait, Dwight Schrute's in this fucking movie?
Yeah.
Ray Wilson had like, I think he has like one line, but he's there. Enrico Colantoni, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, as Malthazar. That dude was fucking inspired. He later went on to play Veronica Mars's dad on Veronica Mars.
Nice.
He's great in that. He's currently playing the principal on English Teacher, which is a fucking hilarious sitcom if you ever want to watch that one. But I think he just like came up with this idea for how to play Thermians like on the spot, and everyone's just like, okay, everyone's doing Rico, everyone's doing what he's doing, and it's like he's playing a very comical character. But even in like his most serious scene when he's being tortured and Jason has to tell him that the show was fake, and you see a heartbreak, he's still playing it as that silly alien thing, but like because he's fully committed to it, like you don't see it as a silly scene. You feel his heartbreak.
Yeah.
And
there's multiple scenes that actually work emotionally on that front. The other one too, the one with the enthusiastic studier of Dr. Alan Rickman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, I used your stealth tactics, and then at the end it's like, by Grabthar's hammer, you will be avenged.
That's Rickman's whole arc in that movie is he fucking hates that line, but suddenly here's somebody who devoted his life, was inspired by this guy's work, this guy who thought his life amounted to nothing because he used to be an actor, and here this guy devoted his life to what he did and died for it, and he's like, oh, okay, I believe in it now.
I love Alan Rickman's character in this movie. Rickman. Just like, oh my god, it's so funny. The part where it's like he wins him over by being like, hey, the show must go on, and he's like, oh, like he's like, no,
yeah,
it's like it's so,
he's an actor.
Yeah, it's so funny. This movie is so good on so many levels. I love it. And I do love that they managed to make like actual satisfying emotional arcs amid the absolute silliness, because oh my god, is it really silly? Like the part where she's like, and like when they're like, oh, her translator's broken. Like there's just so many moments.
Everything about the Thermians is so fucking funny.
Yeah, it could, and the thing is, it could have been so easy for them to be annoying, but they never are. You're always just like, oh my god, I love them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just great.
I think because there's a childlike innocence to them that they don't really wear out their welcome. You can't be mad at them. It's like being mad at a 6-year-old for being annoying. It's like, okay, he's fucking 6.
Yeah, it's so earnest. Like everything they say and do, they mean it. I mean, if their culture doesn't have lies and deception, so that it like kind of plays into that childlike quality that they have. And I think that earnestness, it brings something together. And like that is the fun of the beginning of the movie, is the tension between how serious their situation is versus how, like, you know, Tim Allen is treating it very flippantly. And, you know, of course, they're coming at it from this angle of like having interacted with fans who will pretend to that level for however many years that they've been doing these convention circuits. And I love Justin Long's character. I've got to, you know, give a shout out to he was so baby.
I was so happy to see the Mac from I'm a Mac and I'm a PC was in this movie, which I forgot about.
And obviously, I would say, like, out of everyone in the movie, I am probably most like Brandon as a character. There was one aspect of it of his character that bugged me, that I understand why they did it, just to like save time, but where he's actually convinced that the Protector is a real spaceship. Like obviously when he's just like, I know it's not a real ship, and then Jason goes, it's all real. It's like, oh my god, I knew it, which is like, that's a level of disconnection from reality that I don't think you're actually going to find in most Star Trek fans. But I understand. It's like, look, we don't want to have him spending time explaining that aliens built a replica of the ship. Just say it's real. And he's like, I knew it. I'm like, okay.
I think it works just because there is this meta level of the movie that's like, I would say it's the most cynical part of the movie. It's just like this level where it's like, no, actually, like the message of the movie has to be, yeah, actually the fans are totally chill and are to be like basically like affirmed in all of their delusional behavior. And like it's like this is the movie that's like, the movie's final conclusion is basically like, nah, actually, like William Shatner is correct to have main character syndrome because he is the main character. And actually, all you really have to do is believe hard enough in your own delusion, and you know what? The galaxy will just make it come true.
On a very literal read of that, sure. I think the way that with the fans saving the day, like that is obviously like, in terms of Star Trek, that's just 100% true. Without the fans, Star Trek would not be where it is today.
Oh, absolutely.
It was fans organizing a letter writing campaign to NBC that got the original series back for a 3rd season.
Which is also how that is also, I'll say, another of my favorite shows was carried forward by fans, which was Twin Peaks.
Nice.
That show was almost doomed forever, and people were so passionate about it that they just basically swarmed the I'm forgetting who produced it now, but yeah. So yeah, no, there is some truth in that. Like, And I do think that I do find it funny that like the ending is like there's so much yada yada at the end that it becomes another level of funny where it's like, oh yeah, it's, you know, it's okay. They just crashed a spaceship through the wall and
don't think too hard about it. It was a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to think too much about it. You're not supposed to think about all the people's cars who just got crushed.
Yeah,
like
who's
people
eating
get
their lunch in there. And,
yeah.
and like also like I absolutely love the moment right at the end where like Saris walks off and they just blow him up on stage. It's so brutal.
Well, I love when Saris comes out and there's like some of the convention goers have Nerf guns and they just immediately start shooting them.
It's so good.
The immersion that they're willing to go to. Like I think that's what's so great about conventions and cosplay and like all of these fandoms and like LARP is like the willingness to take it completely at face value. Like us as analysts, there are so many different levels that we can take something. Like, of course, there is like we can talk about the show itself and their motivations, like of the characters within the universe, but we can also take a step back and look at like the writers and the fact that all those characters are making decisions because writers exist in our world. And then like other aspects of the artistry with the filmography, the cinematography, the costumes and everything. Like, but when you're just like fully in it fully immersed, like there is something so wonderful about that. Just the like, at a moment's notice, I'm fully in it. I can just throw everything I have at it. And like, that's like beautiful to me.
Yeah. The enthusiasm is the glowing, positive side of fandom, and that passion that can inspire you so much. And obviously it can spin into a darker side. By pure chance, I happened to watch I'll shout out a little YouTube video I watched recently that was called Why YouTubers Get Weird by Super Eye Patch Wolf, which is kind of the discussion of this exact split of like the magical passion that can occur when people are just so committed and enthusiastic about something, and the way that people can take that and go in totally the wrong direction and have it become something else. And yeah, like, I don't know. I think this movie, like, there is an element of like acknowledgement of that. It's not like within the narrative of the movie. It's kind of just like, yeah, what if the show really was real?
I think it avoids becoming cringe. Like, I feel
For
like
sure.
the only moment in this that I felt like any kind of cringe was when Justin Long had the second time that he comes up to Tim Allen and is like, so the conundrum from earlier, and then Tim Allen like rips him a new one. That was the only moment that I felt like, okay, read the room a little bit. But everything else about that earnestness just felt like we're really honoring something here.
Well, and also like Brendan should have known to ask the writers those questions.
True,
you know,
truly, yes.
I know that like for a long time, like the internet was really what got people to become aware of more like behind the camera talent back in the day. Like, I mean, even in the 90s, like you would be aware of certain auteur directors like Spielberg and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was actors who sold movies.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention to any writers at all, except at the Oscars.
Yeah, critics and enthusiasts and
but like the general populace, like even like, you know, movie people who liked going to the movies a lot, it was mostly, oh, I like that actor, I'm gonna go see him in this thing. And it wasn't really until we had this, you know, where now like actors don't even sell movies anymore. You can have an actor leading $1 billion franchise like Robert Downey Jr. try and make Dr. Dolittle and it flops. You know, it's just people are aware that actors are only as good as the script and the director, and so people are looking more for that. And I was just even thinking, because like the way that we've been analyzing some of the Star Trek movies, DemonMama, you were talking about certain choices that Jonathan Frakes was making. It almost felt like you were talking like creative choices that he was making with the story, when I'm like, that's not the kind of director that he was. He's a TV director. He was brought onto these movies to direct the script. Like, he didn't come into this with a vision of his own. He's like, he's doing a job. And obviously he's invested in Star Trek and he knows the characters very well and he knows how to work with everyone. But like, it wasn't his vision. He was working with everyone else to make the movie.
We're so used to the auteur thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and there are some directors who are like that. And also the directorial role is, while not always like not all directors choose to take the full mantle, but the directorial role is sort of the last say on like, okay, are we ready to say that this scene is done? Does this match what we want to put on the screen at the end? Like, can we make something with this? So yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of like, just by the structure through which movies are made, like, I don't know, I'm not like a full believer in auteur theory or anything like that. I do think there are some directors who are significantly more influential on their sets and on their productions than others. But yeah, no, I think there's truth to that. Yep.
While we're still on the topic of like great performances, like Sam Rockwell should have got an Oscar for this one. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not joking. He was that fucking good in this movie. He is consistently the funniest character in the movie.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
When they land on the planet, when they do the away mission, he's like, "Don't open that. This is an alien planet. Is there air? You don't know." Like every single time I hear that, it fucking sends me.
It's so good.
And he's right. He's absolutely right to be making these objections.
Yeah. During that sequence, Sigourney Weaver, she's like, "Let's go before one of those things kills Guy." And it fucked me up. It was great.
That is the single greatest joke in maybe cinema. And it's the way you watch it in the movie, it's even like a throwaway line. Like they don't let it rest at beats to land. It's just there, and then they keep going. But like it's one of those jokes where you might not even really pick up on it at first, because you're like, yeah, no, of course they're gonna kill Guy. He's the extra, without realizing, no, you're all fucking gonna die.
Yeah.
It's funny too, especially because like they spend so much time being like, "Oh no, you're fine. Like this isn't an episode of TV," and then immediately they fall into that when the danger arrives. Except for Chief Engineer Guy, played by Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub, yeah.
Tony Shalhoub, like I think he's probably one of my favorite performances in this movie. Like he plays like this. It's implied very heavily he's like a stoner. I think they make one joke at one point, like, "Are you stoned?"
It was explicit in an earlier cut of the film, but the studio was like, "Look, this movie's coming up against some other family films, so we want to make it a little bit more family friendly to compete with that." So there was like, you'll notice in the chomper scene when Sigourney Weaver walks up to the screen and you hear, "Oh, screw that," but her mouth very clearly does not say screw.
There's another one in the beginning as well. I noticed this morning when I was doing my rewatch that Tommy, he says, "You're full of shit," but it's dubbed over "you're full of it" when Tim Allen comes in.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
There's also there's one bit where I think Sigourney Weaver is like not looking at the camera when she says it, but she's like, "Gosh darn it, I'm repeating the computer again." I'm like, yeah, no, that was absolutely tones down. But one more thing just about Guy is that when Saris shows up on the bridge and kills everyone, he kills everyone except Guy. Guy is the only one on the bridge who does not get shot.
That's awesome.
I love the part where Tony Shalhoub's character is like, "What if you're like the comic relief?"
Plucky comic relief.
Yeah, what if you're the plucky? And it's just like he has this realization, like, wait a minute, and it clicks for him in that moment. And no, it's great. Like, but I don't know. I love the Tony Shalhoub stoner character. The part where he's like, they're riding down and he's like eating the snacks, and then he's like holding the bag of snacks like in his mouth while they're rolling the beryllium sphere or whatever it is.
Yep.
There's just so many, like, this movie's attention to detail alone makes it shine. There's so many little details in all the scenes with all the characters like doing their little things that just like that, like the snacks, which the snacks are what he's getting from like in mass from the snack machine when he's late for the goo teleportation scene.
Mm-hmm. I love how unbothered he is. Like the rest of them,
he's stoned.
Yeah,
he's
the
just
rest of them
stoned
are
the whole
just
time.
like
He's chill.
and he's like, "I'm good." Yeah.
Like when he calls up to the bridge in the engine room while things are exploding and you have actors literally flying across the screen. He's like, "Hey guys, they say the engine can't take it, so like maybe chill it out a little."
Yeah.
I also love the
guys,
line. This
hug.
is like, the group hug. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
There's another line in that sequence that made me laugh really hard, where it was like Dr. Alan Rickman. He's like, no, you can't use the turbo button. You can't hold down the turbo button. It's meant for short bursts. And it's like, what do you know about this?
More than you.
And then like a second later, it cuts to the engine being like sputtering out like a cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
And of course, I would say like the biggest fans of this movie have to be Star Trek actors.
Yeah, I bet.
Patrick Stewart, when he saw the trailer, he was like, I'm not going to watch a movie of people making fun of me. And Frakes called him up and was like, Patrick, go to a crowded theater on a Friday night. You have to see it in a packed theater. And he went, and he was the loudest laugh in the entire room. Will Wheaton said that the only thing the movie was missing was a cameo from Will Wheaton as a convention goer who was yelling at Tommy for it being unrealistic that a kid would fly a ship.
Oh, see, that's another part where I'm like, oh no, like you get the dark side of the enthusiasm.
William Shatner pretended not to know who Tim Allen was playing. You know,
oh my, come on, man.
He was obviously joking, but like he's like, oh, I have no idea who that guy was playing. But no, the Star Trek fans and Star Trek actors alike think this movie is delightful.
Was this movie broadly critically acclaimed in its day, or is it one of those like niche things?
Has like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and most of those reviews seem to be contemporary, which is like, that's pretty stunning. In fact, the critical reception is significantly higher than the audience reception, although the audience reception is also high.
It was financially successful too. It made $90 million at the box office on a $45 million budget in '99. So that's pretty good. Also, a $45 million budget in '99. That's pretty fucking big. Like, this movie looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
They took a risk on this one.
Yeah,
and it's right in that era of CGI where it was still like time consuming and expensive. Not that it isn't now, but you know, they hadn't quite figured out how to exploit people for it yet. But where like anytime they were using CGI, it was like, okay, here's the big CGI shot. So instead of it being like, ew, that CGI looks bad because they're using it for everything, and it's like, instead of trying to fix things, you know, practically on set, they're spectacles. It's all, these are really cool things. So like, say you see the Omega-13 and it's not meant to look realistic. It's like, no, here's some cool shit. You obviously notice that it's CGI because it doesn't look real at all, but that's okay because it looks cool. The space shots look cool. And
the rock monster is like a lot of the CGI in this movie, like it's very visibly like CGI. And even with the rock monster, there are parts like that. But as far as movie CGI goes, the rock monster, especially the sequence where he's running through the hall and smashing all the doors and like lifting up the like airlock that's attempting to close down, like that looks very good for the time. And like, I was impressed. Also, of course, like I've had this on my notes as one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about is just the prosthetics and the monsters and the goop and oh my god, like
Terrace looks great.
Oh my, and his hair, his spider hair keeps moving consistently. This is like the attention of detail stuff that I'm like, even his little guys in the background, like with their like weird turtle shell armor that has so many bits and bobs on it, and it's like, there's just so much love poured into all the special effects. The pig monster, the pig lizard on it's so disgusting. I remember, it's so funny that I remember the first time I saw Galaxy Quest, and I remember how disgusting and scary the pig monster was. And then when they turn it inside out, it messed with me as a kid. I was like, ah!
It's a pretty graphic scene.
Oh, it's so gruesome. And like now seeing it now, I like realized that as a child, I embellished it as being like even more violent than it was, because the goopy, the slime looks very funny. But like as a kid, I was like, oh my God, they must have used real blood. Like, oh, it's so good. I love it. The special effects really are like something else. And even the ones that are like deliberately funny look good. Like I said, I mentioned the one where they kill him on stage at the end, and where he's like, ah, and then it does like a firework, like
Yeah. And he's just gone, completely vaporized immediately.
It's so perfect. Oh man, what a decision. Like so many, this movie is so inspired. It's absurd. I love it.
There's one scene early on when Tommy is first taking the ship out out of dry dock, and he scrapes the side of the dry dock.
Yeah.
Star Trek actually did an homage to that in the Enterprise pilot, because Archer and Trip are taking a shuttle pod to do their, the classic flyby, looking around the ship to show it off for the first time. But then Trip gets a little too close and scratches the paint. And,
okay, that's very funny.
Yeah, so no, Star Trek was even just like, we love you, Galaxy Quest. We're gonna throw in a little reference for you.
God, that's so perfect.
I wanted to pitch in really quick about the attention to detail and the prosthetics and stuff. That Alan Rickman's forehead line between the prosthetic and his face becomes more and more visible throughout the movie, which the dedication of that man to put on that fucking thing every time he has a signing, crazy. Don't think anybody else does that, but no. It just plays through the rest of the movie as the veneer kind of coming out and his hair tufts coming out at the bottom and stuff. Yeah.
And then by the end, it's just his hair, whole wisps of his hair, through the
He's even wearing it in his apartment, afterward.
Yes,
you would think get that off as soon as you get home, but he's going to the fridge and getting a snack and everything on the phone, still in prosthetics.
I did not think of that.
I think there was a bit, I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con about a decade ago where Tom Hiddleston showed up in costume and in character as Loki. And that's not even there's no prosthetics for that. It's just Tom Hiddleston's face, with the wig or whatever and everything. But I remember apparently Chris Evans backstage was just dude, that was so crazy that you just went and fucking did that. I would never. I'm just going on stage in jeans and a t-shirt. Dr. Lazarus is definitely, I'm forgetting the character's actual name. I'm looking it up here. Alexander Dane. Yeah. But yeah, he definitely, as much as he resented this role, and obviously there's a bit of he's the Spock character, and Leonard Nimoy he went through his feelings about the character of Spock because it's what he became known for. He wrote that autobiography that said, "I am not Spock." So they were trying to capture a little bit of that.
And also a little bit of Brent Spiner, right? Because doesn't Brent Spiner kind of notoriously, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel he's come to have a pretty negative polarization towards sci-fi and sci-fi fandoms and stuff like that.
I don't know that. I don't pay a lot of attention to him outside of his acting.
Yeah.
So maybe he said something. The only thing that I know that he doesn't like is cats.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny because they gave him a cat. But beyond that, I'm not familiar with.
Maybe I'm misremembering it. I felt like I read it somewhere. Well, maybe we can append a note or something if we look it up later. I might look it up later. So, but no, yeah, it's that whole. I love that character. Also, it produced perhaps the most immortal line from this movie was Dr. Lazarus' line by Grabthar's hammer. What a savings.
You see him dying inside.
At a Circuit City or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, another line that is understated for me is just like Mother used to make.
The bugs.
The bugs, yeah.
I also like another line that's with him. It's Dr. Alex, whatever his name is, and they're like, he's British.
He's British, yeah. When he's coming back on stage at the end, yeah.
So good. There's so many. Oh man, this movie is.
I also think what makes this movie work is that the central plot, while it has a funny premise, they take it seriously.
Oh yeah,
it is an arc where okay, these guys are actually no good at their jobs, but then they have to go back and remember what it was about the show that they were good at, and understand that they have been thrust into a world that operates on the logic that they operated in the show. So you have Tommy going and watching episodes and studying his moves so he remembers how to fly the ship, and then you have the final confrontation is a genuinely awesome action set piece with a really cool resolution where like the dragging the mines is such a great reveal. Like it's such a great reveal that again, Star Trek copied it in like season 3 of Star Trek Picard. They literally have like a moment where like a ship is like tractoring an asteroid behind it. And it's like a big reveal where it just releases it and the asteroid goes and smashes into the other ship. It's so fucking cool. So it's
unconventional battle tactics that you can do in space.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that in this movie, it's like the arc of this movie story is that like for them to be good at actually like being their character, they have to just get more into character. They have to remember what they lost that they loved because it was built off of them when they were in their prime and cared about things. There's even a line I think with I think it's between the captain and Tony Shalhoub's character where it's like you just forgot what made you passionate or whatever. It's like I can't remember the exact line. It's something like that. He's like I don't want to die. He's like I know you could do this. They're
talking him into working the transporter because he's because he blew up the pig and he's having a crisis of confidence.
Yeah, the digital tractor or whatever. It's called.
Or the digitizer or whatever it was. Digital conveyor.
Digital conveyor, that's the one. That's what it is.
It doesn't matter. It's the transporter. You just
I love
legally distinct term.
Yeah, they're fake. The like fake technobabble is done like perfectly in this way. People make fun of technobabble like all the time in a million different types of media. This movie does perhaps the best, where it doesn't go too far, but it's always just enough. It's like, oh my God, obviously this isn't even like, it isn't Star Trek technobabble, but it's like they made their own technobabble internal to their universe that sells itself well. I don't know. That's a little complicated.
Yeah, like they don't have impulse or warp. They're like, oh, moving at Mark 4. Oh, the ship came into the solar system at Mark 15. And obviously that's going to, blow up in the atmosphere. They have their speed that's pretty consistent. Those just fun little things.
The internal consistency is what makes technobabble sci-fi and not just like fantasy wand waving, which that's like the thing that things can fall prey to, and that's why sci-fi fantasy is like a genre with crossover. Okay, how much hard science are we putting in this, or hard magic, versus how much are we just like it's more vibes based and loosey goosey? And I feel like this one hits more on the side of like does well at being internally consistent.
Yeah. I think that like where technobabble fails is in shows like Voyager, where oftentimes like you would have the resolution to the sci-fi part of the plot literally be them spouting technobabble out on the bridge for 5 minutes.
Because that's Deus Ex Machina at that point.
Until they say the right kind of technobabble, because the first technobabble that they use, Tuvok always says, oh, no effect. And then they have to try a couple other things, and then they come up, oh, I've got this technobabble, and then it works. That's half the fucking show. And that's not interesting. What's interesting is like, instead of throwing a bunch of terms like Star Trek has its established technology. They've got, the warp core, they've got the transporter. When you're just inventing new kinds of radiation and whatnot every week, there's no consistency there and nobody cares. When you have consistency, when you have internal consistency and you stick with that, even though the word that you use is still made up and the thing doesn't exist, people can track it. And also I think that like the best when Star Trek is at its best, it's when the technobabble is used to like create a tunnel to the issue at hand. Like you have your technobabble that invents you a sort of a justification for why you need to do a plot line about genetic eugenics and how it's bad, and like I feel like DS9 especially is really good at this, because there's like the technobabble that they set up is pretty much always used very sparingly for the purpose of setting up like, okay, so what is this episode really about? Where there are shows where it's like, it's almost like very lore brained. It's like, oh, well, yeah, actually, we need to have it be like, oh, well, actually, there's this secret that nobody knew about in this like technobabble thing, and we've built this whole system. This happens sometimes in fantasy as well. Like you mentioned the like lines between sci-fi and fantasy. Sometimes in fantasy,
or I should say frequently in fantasy, something that can happen is that a series becomes so obsessed with its own magic system that it gets completely lost in the weeds and can never like get back on track to what actually matters to the story. And yeah, I think that can also happen with Technobabble for sure.
It needs to serve the story. That's the thing. Is like, if it's not jollying the story along, like in particular, one of the best done parts of the techno blah blah of this movie is like the beryllium core is damaged. Therefore, we have to go to this planet, and then there's like the planet sequence, and it like then it gets resolved, and then the beryllium core is fixed, and then we can move on to the next thing. So it's like it presents a challenge that's the same as your car broke down on the side of the road. Like a story could be served by whatever, just a little thing like that. And then
boom, we broke our quantum carburetor. I feel like Rick and Morty did a joke about that. You can't just put quantum in front of any car part and have it work.
Turns out you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Turns out those writers in the writers' room for Galaxy Quest, they just happened to nail that beryllium was a really important resource, and it was mined out in balls, and that you could roll them. They don't radiate you or anything.
Kinks. The tentacles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do love that. I that's a good one. I will say, I love the Tony Shalhoub and forgetting the character's name.
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe. Talalik or something like that. But their like romance is so funny, and like I love the part where it's like the tentacles come up and he's just like, oh, I'm so into it. Like he's literally like more. It's so perfect. It's like and I also like that like they kind of let you forget that he doesn't know that they're all aliens because he wasn't there in the beginning when they warped in. He doesn't know that they're all like
why are they all freaking out? Yeah.
And that's another special effect that is just incredible. The
they look good. The Thermians as awesome. The tentacle beasts look good.
They're like cuttlefish, basically. Yeah. They're like cuttlefish, maybe octopus a little bit, but like the design is so good. And also there's a consistency through like there's this part where it's like, oh, everyone, the crew wants to be on the bridge for this historic moment, and a bunch of them come in and they're moving their hands up and down exactly like the tentacles that they do with their.
That's solid.
It's so many good little details like that. I love it. Which also makes it kind of funny when he has the leg brace on in the end. It's like he has the leg brace on the hologram of his. It's kind of funny. But that was just...
Don't think about it too hard.
I don't think about that one too hard, but that's good. It's, that one's more funny than anything. I don't know. This movie, I love this movie.
There was one thing that I caught in this my most recent viewing of it that I don't think I'd ever caught before, is that when they're on the away mission and Jason's barking orders, he uses Guy's last name.
Yes!
And that's the first time you hear it. He says Fleegman, and it's just a throwaway line. And what I think happened is that when he's freaking out on the shuttle saying, is like, Guy, you have a last name. Do I? You don't know? Like, what is it? And I feel like either there was an alternate version of that scene, or like they trimmed it down and cut a line where he actually says his last name, because for Jason to know the last name of an extra from 20 years ago seems odd. But because that's not there, it kind of makes Jason, like, you realize this guy, as self-censored as he is, cares more about the other people than he really is letting on, because he remembers this guy's last name, which that's like nobody else did.
I think maybe it plays into a little bit this, like, at the beginning, I think of the movie, he's kind of portrayed as this like, well, you're pathetic because your entire life is this character. Like your entire life is this show. You're having conversations with fans where you remember exactly what was said in this episode, and you know the episode number and the episode titles and everything, like an encyclopedic knowledge. He flips on the TV and it lands on an episode of his, and he can remember the dialogue.
This is his life. He lives it. He breathes it. So yeah, he probably knows. He probably has memorized call sheets and stuff like that. So he's like episode 81. Yeah, Guy Fleekman. Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, his identity is the Star Trek character he used to play, in a way where, like, the other characters are kind of more like, well, I guess we'll keep doing this. Oh, it's another paycheck or whatever.
Yeah,
it really is like important to him because that was a clearly defining part of his career. And he's like leaning into it in that way. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does, in fact, know all the names. And so it may or may not be that he cares about the other people per se, but rather
He
that
just
like
knows. He
yeah,
remembers.
it's how he maintains his relevance and his fame is by having those conversations and having the encyclopedic knowledge. So yeah, I guess you could kind of look at it either way. Like, oh, maybe he cares about the other people more than you think, or he's just so obsessed with this thing in that pathetic, self-defining way that he just has all of it up top.
I like that. I really, whether it was intentional in the script or not, I like to think that it was, but it works very well for the movie. I think it represents his character having, you know, the like Kirk moment of realizing like, oh, I do really care about this, but I have to change the way that I go about it. I have to be able to communicate that care, because it seems like he does. Like, it's very clear from the beginning of the movie that he clearly cares. Like, I mean, he's in the stall and he gets completely heartbroken over people shit talking his role. And like,
That's all he has.
yeah, it's his thing. And he's very passionate about it and good at it, but also like, he fails to communicate that to his crew. And so he has to learn to like express that. And that's like his way of doing that, is showing that like, actually, yeah, I do know your last name, you know, like I just didn't know it was important to you. Like, he's bad at understanding what other people need, but then as a captain, to become the full role of captain, he has to change that. He has to realize like, Tony Shalhoub's character, he needs a pep talk. He needs to be reminded that he is competent, and you know, all these different things. You know, like, oh, well, we need this camaraderie, and I need to let, you know, Dr. Lazarus have his scene, which doesn't really end up going that way, but because they're like, the captain has saved us.
I think that there's something interesting as well in like at the beginning of the movie, you get to see like the different relationship dynamics. So like the crew, you know, so they're all kind of defined by this thing. They all have to go to do the things together, but the crew kind of, they arrive at the same time. And Jason arrives later, or he has a separate event. They call each other to talk about their concerns, and you get to see the inside of their homes. And like all of the other crew have like homes that feel kind of like normal, or, you know, the two that we can see of the two of them on the phone, it just feels like, oh, that's somebody's house. Jason has a BoJack Horseman house.
Yeah.
With big glass walls at the top of a hill, and he's clearly separated from them. And that's like, I don't know exactly what is meant to be said by that.
He's living off of residuals and the convention circuit, but obviously he was the star of the show, so he was getting paid more than the others, so his residual checks are bigger.
But it's like the physical separation as well, that he lives apart. His house doesn't feel as homey, and then like how that disconnection from the other crew, like that's his journey, is like reconnecting with the human, the collaborative aspect of all of it,
figuring out what it means to be a captain.
Totally. What it means to be a leader, to take,
he has to give people pep talks. He's starting, you know, he connects with when he baits Alexander into a mock fight, because he's like, come on, we let's do the acting thing. Let's use our acting to save the day. Him talking to Fred Kwan, being like, come on, man, you never missed a mark. You never forgot a line. He's remembering good leadership skills. It's just once he dropped the ego and realized that it's about the team, and he even says it at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to the fans, even though that's back in his egomaniac thing. He's like, oh, so you had the choice to do this, but then, you know, he's like, come on, that's not a hard choice. Without the crew, I'm not a commander. So. You know, that feels like that was his arc. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, like, it's also like on that, you know, he says, oh, it's him going from being pure artifice to actually embodying that character, because the scene right before that is them all being like, what, you didn't let us come along to get paid for that gig that you were doing. And he's like, oh, it's a thing in somebody's basement. And then later there's another scene that speaks to what Moss was talking about just a second ago, with the separation, where it's like, oh, he's demanding like a limo, and they're all carpooling together in a van. In that scene where they're like, you really think he got a gig? And then they're all like, oh, and they all like rush out of the car because like, shit, we need a paycheck. And it's like, oh, and then they're like, yeah, well, you know, it's a package deal, which good for them. Like.
But he clearly didn't feel that way.
He didn't. No, he was. I mean, he had to come back and ask for help, but it was this more like, still very self-centered approach.
I also got to say, like, given how we see him act at the convention before he hears the people shit talking him, when he's just in his element, he's like, okay, I am in fan mode. And he's really great with the fans.
Yeah.
He's engaging with them. He knows what they're referencing and is playing back with them and stuff like that. When you see that contrasted with how he phones it in when he's first on the Protector, it's like, okay, I know you're hungover and I know you're trying to wrap this up because you've got that gig at the Circuit City, but the level of disrespect that he shows them when it's like, obviously it's not the gig he thought he was paid for. That was Brandon's gig that he didn't show up for. But like, yeah, the level of disrespect that he's showing fans who are paying him to do a role play with them, when it's like, we've seen how you can put it on. Why is it like, here you are at a private event and you're just like being a total dickhead about it?
Yeah. Like it affected him deeply, the comments that were made the day before, like apparently. Can I just hone in on Sigourney Weaver for a second? Because I'm realizing that I feel like she has the least of a character arc of all of them. Like, I guess a little bit she's like, I am going to embrace this role and do the thing, even though I think it's stupid. And, you know, everybody just wants to talk about my boobs. But then like,
boobs are out at the end.
They are fully just out at the end. So it does kind of feel like maybe they don't successfully hit the mark with like making sure to actually give their one female character whose entire struggle is that she doesn't have a good role, like that she also didn't end up with a very good role in this movie. I don't know. I do feel like it kind of fell short a little bit for me.
And also having her end up with Jason at the end. It's like that.
Like, yeah, her character arc is, I don't want to date you, except maybe now I do want to date you. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like, it's not a perfect, like, I mean, part of it is like, part of the joke is that, you know, the ship only responds to her voice at reading out the computer stuff.
There could have been a cool reason for that. Like in what is it? It's Farscape, where the pilot is like part of the ship. There could have been some cool psychic explanation or something for why like her biology matches with the ship or something. But no, it's just like
that's how it was in the show. So we built it that way, which is very funny, and it is poking fun at like it is poking fun correctly. Sci-fi, but it doesn't surpass it. Like, that's for sure. Where I do think that in like some elements, and I don't know, maybe you can say that none of these elements actually manage to like, you know, rise above being a reference to Star Trek or whatever.
Sure.
But it stands on its own. And I do think that like, I think aspects of this movie stand alone as like genuinely good in and of themselves. I don't think that's true about like Sigourney Weaver's character, unfortunately. And I definitely agree with you that there was room for them to do more of that, but they didn't. They chose not to. So
I also feel like because like when you see her later and her boobs are out, like, there is no scene that shows why that happens, because it got cut because they were trying to make the film more family friendly, but they still were like, well, we've still got the footage later on that we're not reshooting of her with her boobs out. But it was like, I watched the deleted scenes years ago. I don't remember the exact details, but I feel like it was like she was like trying to pull feminine wiles on one of Saren's goons or something like that to distract him while somebody else comes from behind and bonks him on the head or something like that. So it was like, she was like, okay, look, I'm playing the chick on the show, and I guess I'm living in the world where I'm the chick on the show, so I might as well like try and utilize that strength to get the upper hand or something like that.
Yeah, exercising some autonomy over that.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most recurring criticisms we've had of Star Trek media, especially the movies, is just totally leaving the female characters in the dust. And it does kind of suck a little. I think it's a flaw with this movie to not poke at that more. But, you know, maybe they didn't want to be, what was the term they used at the time? PC?
Yeah,
it was 99.
99, so yeah, that would be the term they would use.
Yep.
It feels like, honestly, I would say that the best thing for Star Trek in the Kurtzman era is that they've really tried to focus in and like give women prominent roles. And obviously in Voyager, I can't ignore Voyager. Janeway and Seven were phenomenal characters. And even though the producers treated Seven like she was just sex eye candy, like the writers were like, no, we're making a really fucking deep character here. But yeah, with since the Kurtzman era, I mean, Discovery was led by a woman. You've had really strong women characters in pretty much all of the new series. So it's definitely something they're working on. I don't know that it's perfect, but it's nice to see growth.
It's a product of its time. I mean, it's like going back and trying to watch Futurama, where it's like, oh, it's in the future, but it's still made by people now who have sexist and homophobic beliefs and transphobic beliefs. So like those things get played for laughs, which I guess is a little tongue in cheek of like, oh, look, it's the future, but it's still backwards. But like, with Star Trek, we do hope for something more. Like, it's like when you see sci-fi in the future and there's no people of color and it's like, what did you do with all of them? Where are they? It's like it raises some of those questions that are just the result of voids of perception for us. Like we don't notice necessarily when the bridge doesn't have any people of color on it, unless you are a person of color. And then you're like, that sticks out like a sore thumb. And we all have to, like those of us in like powerful positions in that hierarchy have to be like, let's actually create space at the table for those people and for those stories. And this is just, it's the 90s and it's not a big deal. And like they did better than many other things in the 90s. So, take a grain of salt with that criticism.
I feel like for decades, I just had an inside joke with my mom, just Gilligan's Island, those poor people.
Those poor people.
In the beginning of the movie, there is a dude in the front row of the convention who is dressed exactly like the Klingons from Star Trek Discovery. And so I think that's probably another reference. It might just be coincidental. It's a very like fractal design that you could see somebody else independently coming up with. But yeah,
But this is the relationship between fandom and property, like that they influence each other. Like this is like Galaxy Quest is a parody, but then things about it get folded into the franchise. Like criticisms from fans online get folded into the properties. Like famously, George R.R. Martin says like you can't change it was all set up to be the maid, and then at the last minute you change it to be the butler. You screw up your whole story. But those kinds of relationships define all of this media. Like it's back and forth. It's reciprocal in a way.
Yeah, and there's a large spectrum therein. We talked about the fans rallying to kind of save a property, but the Game of Thrones is a great example of fans potentially ruining a property and maybe killing it. But also it's one of those things where you have to like, if you're in the position of creating it, you have to like control the valve of how much of this feedback you're actually going to take. And I do think that we are in an era now where getting feedback on a piece of media, especially if you're from an artist position, is almost inescapable because of the way social media operates, which I think does change the calculus there. It's a very different process. Writing a letter just takes a lot more energy and commitment than going on to, some multi-social media commenting thing and then typing a comment and posting it on 3 different accounts at once, saying like, I hate this, blah, 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 it's woke or whatever. Yeah, so
super fandom is so much more accessible now. It used to take work. You used to have to go see the Star Wars movie 3 times in the theater to make your cosplay. And now there's just reference photos on the internet. So it has changed the landscape for sure.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Next time we'll be watching Star Trek Nemesis. So look forward to that review. Until then, I've been Gayfesh.
I have Moss.
And I'm DemonMama.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.